Brunson allow him to operate at the top, 1-on-1.
Brunson gets it, fires up a three. Shot no good, the tip, it's gone! It's gone!
Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Arc podcast. Today we're going to be diving into the NBA offseason as it is here with the Knicks just winning the championship. So what we're going to be talking about is just 10 teams that are going to be defining this offseason and whether or not it's going to get a little crazy here. So if you do enjoy this video, do me a huge favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below your favorite team that will be making a move this offseason. So without further ado, let's jump right on into this. So first up, we got to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, they just lost the finals. And like I had been saying in the last few videos, I expected this. I expected a young team to not necessarily I didn't expect them to choke like this, lead 75% of the series and then just crumble in the fourth quarter pretty much. But a lot of that just has to do with the youth of coach and the youth of the players. I mean, their oldest player that played significant minutes would have been De'Aaron Fox at 28 years old, him seemingly being the odd piece out that will then make the move in the offseason that can provide something to help better them for next year, right? So instead of just being like, oh, what will it be? Let's talk about specific players. I think specifically, I was walking to the gas station here right by my house, and I was just thinking on the way over, what could the Spurs do? And one player that immediately popped into my head was Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram from the Raptors. I mean, I think the Raptors could use a star like De'Aaron Fox, pair alongside Scotty Barnes, right? Yes, I think that they would keep Brandon Ingram, but I'm saying if there was a world where what do the Spurs really need? It's a wing who can kind of go out there and go get a bucket. There's a couple other players I'm going to get to here in a minute, but Brandon Ingram was a relatively cheaper option for them so that they didn't have to give up so much, because there's some other players, of course, that I think would solve a lot of the problems. Basically, I think this team just needs a defined, yes, Wemby is a true leader on this team, but he's still 22 years old. So I think you need to find somebody that is around the Fox age, but that is a more defined bucket compared to Fox. Clearly all season have been dealing with some sort of injury. Never seemed like we really could get 100% of Fox this whole season. And even in the end, he kind of let the team down with making some boneheaded plays with the blown layup, blocked by OG, just countless turnovers that you really wouldn't want to make when you're in that specific position. I mean, I remember a time too where they're up 9 with 2 minutes to go. It's early in the shot clock and he's putting up a 3. I mean, in scenarios like that, it just looked as if he lacked experience himself too. And I understand Fox has only been to one playoff series before the Spurs, and it was against Golden State and they lost in 7, right? But Fox himself, so you think, okay, maybe we do move off of him. Let's go get Brandon Ingram, who has been a defined bucket scorer on his own. Doesn't really need a lot of help, whole 9 yards. If you want to take that up a level, you think maybe this offseason, we've heard rumors about the speculation of the Celtics giving up Jaylen Brown. Do the Spurs hop on that and say, hey, Fox, pretty darn close to matching money right there. And then you just need, of course you need to add value, but Castle, Harper, Wemby, untouchable. Anything else on this roster, go ahead. Have whatever you want. Whatever picks, whatever you need to get Jaylen Brown, get it done. That's what I would say. And I mean, because Fox has value. Let's not get it twisted that Fox isn't a good NBA player. This is an all-NBA caliber guard. I think he just genuinely needed to rehab his injury a lot more than he ended up doing. Right? I mean, that's just, I think, what it boiled down to. He didn't look like the Fox. There wasn't that burst of speed we were used to. That quick first step was not there. I mean, he was getting chased down by OG. Yes, OG has some speed on him, but not like Fox. So, yes, I think Jaylen Brown is a solid option. I think he is genuinely the prime solution to their big problem. Go get a guy that can go get his own shot, that can be a leader, that's been there, done that. And maybe he's just not wanting. He has shown that he can be Batman and Robin, right? And with the Spurs, Wemby, of course, is your Batman, but realistically, offensively, there's a world where Jaylen Brown can be the number one option on this roster because of the fear that Wemby draws. Like, when Wemby wasn't on the court, the Knicks were attacking the basket left and right. Versus when he's when he's on the court, they're shooting a ton of threes. Now, of course, that's defense versus offense. Offensively, you can see he draws Cat away from the paint. He draws Mitchell Robinson away from the paint, giving guys like Dylan Harper, like Fox, the opportunity to drive with no ill will. I mean, Fox kept headhunting OG, which I didn't really love that idea because this is an all-NBA defender. Like, you don't really want to go at him. But Harper was getting to the basket with no worry. Stephon Castle was getting to the basket nice and easy, right? There were a lot of opportunities because of how dangerous Wemby is. So you bring in another potential 1A, 1B option like he is with the Celtics, Jaylen Brown, and boom. You've got a guy that has been a finals MVP, that can show you the way. He's been to plenty of Eastern Conference finals. He's had success most of his career. So I think that's another great option for them. Now, and also a guy that can handle the ball decent, right? Of course, there's the tribulation about his left hand and that whole 9 yards, but how you fix the Spurs, I think, is you go get a leader. And a guy, what I mean by a leader is just to go a bucket getter to when you're down 9, 10, 11 points, you've got this opportunity of, hey, I'm going to go get us a bucket. And then on the other end, when you're up that much, you got a guy who can handle the lead, who can manage it, right? Of course, you could talk about the Shays of the world and the Lukas of the world, but they're untouchable. You could get in the Giannis package, but I don't like that for the Spurs at all because I think you got to give up too much youth. So then you have to look at disgruntled stars. And of course, nobody in New York is disgruntled right now. You don't want, like, I guess theoretically LeBron would be a good option as well. LeBron playing with this youth would be an option. It does, like, I don't know if LeBron, I think LeBron genuinely, that you put him in this roster with this Spurs team, they win the finals. Even as old as LeBron is. I think if you put Jaylen Brown on this roster instead of Fox, that's the whole thing, is instead of Fox, if you put LeBron in that situation, he doesn't blow that layup, he pulls it out. Or he gets fouled. Right? And I know the replay showed a foul by OG. OG slapped the wrist on De'Aaron Fox. I get that. At the same time, you have to know in that situation, you're up 1, there's no need to go score. Because even if you get the layup, you're tied, right? Versus you get fouled, you take free throws, boom, you're tied. Like, it's just like, it made no sense to go for that play. But anyways, the Spurs. I do think that, of course, Luke Cornett was a cool center for them, but backup center minutes, I think they could use an upgrade at the backup center. So if you can go get an Avi Missy, if you can go get a Miles Turner of the world, that's pretty expensive to be paying a backup center Miles Turner money, but in a case of a buyout or something like that, a Nicholas Claxton, a DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams even, I think that's, because the thing is of course, Wemby wasn't playing every single second on the court. And when he wasn't playing, the Knicks instantly changed their offense to attack. So I think you go get a backup center as well. And something cheap, nothing crazy. Luke Cornett was a solid option. I don't think he was terrible. I think he genuinely provided serviceable minutes. It's just, there's such a fear of Wemby that when he's off the court, I'm attacking the basket. So that's why you go get like a defensive heavy, like a Robert Williams, who can still block shots, can still rim run, right? Doesn't have the outside shot that Wemby has, but I think that's an option for sure, and a cheaper option for you. So I think the Spurs could shake up their roster quite a bit. I do agree with, like Charles Barkley, for example, said anybody on this roster besides Harper, Castle, Wemby is untouchable. Those three are untouchable. Everyone else up for grabs. I do agree to an extent. I do like Julian Champagnie on this roster. I think he kind of is that three-point sniper, 3-and-D, that Danny Green-esque Spurs role that the Spurs always have. So I don't think you really get rid of him. Everything else, sure. If that's what it takes. If like Keldon Johnson, he looked really out of shape to me. He looked just chunky on the court, but he did make solid rebounds, so I guess if you could theoretically upgrade that, but of course we're talking, they might be spending a lot of money here on this one player to solve the big issue, because I really don't think that the Spurs need a whole lot. I don't think that they need to go make some crazy play where they're trading for Giannis, right? I know I put Jaylen Brown in that category, but I think Jaylen Brown, you wouldn't have to give up Castle, Harper, Wemby, right? I think you could get the deal done without that. Yeah, you might have to give up 3, 4, 5 first round picks, sure, but you do that to get Jaylen Brown. Another player I wanted to talk about was the disgruntled duo that might not fit together, being Franz and Paolo. I think if one of those two becomes available, realistically, I would love it if Paolo became available for the Spurs. I think he would fit them like a glove. And of course, the Magic need a point guard. So instantly, there's a fit and a need on both sides, with both teams offering something. Right? With the Raptors, for example, with Brandon Ingram, there isn't really a need for De'Aaron Fox. Emmanuel Quickley's not great, so you'll take that upgrade. But realistically, that'll probably be some 3-team deal. But with Orlando, they literally need a guy like De'Aaron Fox. So I don't mind that. I don't mind De'Aaron Fox and like a pick for Paolo. Right? And Paolo, kind of a disappointing season also. So maybe if you're San Antonio and you're Orlando, you could both capitalize on the other semi-star. Well, semi-star De'Aaron Fox is a star. Let's not get it twisted. Paolo's a star. Paolo, I think, in my opinion, he just needs a new situation. And I would love it, like whether that's with Orlando and they go get the guard, or that's somewhere else. But I'll take Franz on the Spurs roster as well. Both, either one. And then I want to talk about one more player. This one might be a bit of a shocker, but I genuinely think, and again, fit and a need for both rosters. I think Julius Randle, as gross as, sometimes his fit doesn't really fit a whole lot of places. It really needs to be a specific spot. But Randle might, with proper coaching and offensive adjustment, might fit the Spurs roster. And that's something that I think you could gain depth. I think you could, because Randle makes a lot of money, I think you could gain Randle and something else, right? Terrence Shannon Jr. I think you could get Randle, because obviously I would have said Dante DiVincenzo, but he's not gonna be playing next season. Or if he does, it's gonna be late. And you don't really want that if you're San Antonio. So, that's another player. But let's move on to a couple other teams that are going to shake up the offseason. Boston is a huge one on this list because they've been not only tied to the rumor of Jaylen Brown being on the move, but at the same time tied to the idea of maybe Derek White is on the move. Clearly, there's a need of more talent on this roster after losing key players like Drew Holiday, like Kristaps, like Al Horford, like Luke Cornett. All deep rotational pieces for them for their championship run. And as a Celtics fan, I don't want to trade Jaylen Brown. I really don't. I don't want to trade Derek White. But in the past, I didn't want to trade Marcus Smart either. but it got us a championship. So although I think that the Celtics don't need to get rid of those two, I do understand with the second apron and everything, you're going to have to make a decision at some point and say, look, we just need to get more talent. This is where we draw the line in the sand. We're going to have to make a move from one of y'all, right? So who do the Celtics go look at? Because that's an extremely, I mean, if you're trading Jaylen Brown, yeah, you're going to want a lot in return. And especially the Celtics are going to want players to win now. They probably don't really want picks. I mean, in my eyes too, I don't really want picks in the NBA at the moment because I don't really know what's up with this whole new flattened odds. So if you trade Jaylen Brown to like the Kings, for example, for 4 first-round picks, and then they all end up 18, that's a bummer. You know, obviously, statistically, that probably doesn't happen, but I think immediately a name that jumps off the plate with Sacramento, funny enough, is Domantas Sabonis. I think if Jaylen Brown were to be on the move, Sabonis would be a guy that can come in immediately and make an immediate impact, right? And I'm also saying all of these names across every single team here as there's not necessarily a solid package set. It's not a 1-for-1 per se, but Jaylen Brown for Sabonis, I mean, the Kings could use a star. And that would be an opportunity for Jaylen Brown to prove he's Batman. He's not Robin, right? Sabonis comes in. He's comfortable playing the second option. I think his fit would fit great in Boston's offense. He rebounds the ball. He defends decently well. He is an option down low. Like, he bangs bodies. He's a bruiser. We could use him. Right? So if you trade Jaylen Brown, you want a package like a Sabonis back in return. Right? Another name that kind of comes to mind is Jamal Murray. If Jamal Murray becomes available, should the Celtics, I mean, I think Derek White and Jamal Murray next to each other is like a match made in heaven. Throw Jason Tatum in there. I mean, yes, like I said, it's not going to be an even 1-for-1. It would be like Jamal Murray, Peyton Watson for Jaylen Brown, right? And that's hypothetical. But yeah, I like that idea of Celtics could use a number 2 to a number 1 option, but also need a guy that can step up when the lights are bright. So you say, hey, Jamal Murray, you come over, be a Celtics. The Nuggets could use a wing. And then, of course, there's a point guard hole there for them, but they can figure that out. That's if, like, the Nuggets organization is like, look, Jokic is obviously staying. We're going to need to move off Jamal. And then you think of, like I said, obviously, they're going to want something in return because they're going to be competing. So are the Celtics. So Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray. That's another player. I don't think the Celtics Bucks Giannis deal would be in the works. I don't like that idea for the Celtics at all. I don't even really like it for the Bucks either. Like, they're rivals, not necessarily like super rivals, but they play in the Eastern Conference. So if I'm trading Giannis, I'm trading him to the West. A lot of the times with Jaylen Brown, I would trade him to the West. I would trade him to San Antonio. I would trade him to Sacramento. I would trade him anywhere else because I don't want to play him until at least the finals, right? That makes the most sense if we're the Celtics, right? It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, there's those players. Return package if they end up going Derek White instead of Jaylen Brown. Derek White's a tough one because I could definitely see some teams overpaying for him. But really, we don't know the value of Derek White. I mean, the Celtics got him for like pennies on the dollar, and then he became this all-star. So is he like a Mikal Bridges where he's going to be worth 5 first-round picks? Because, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd take Derek White over Mikal Bridges easily. And so, of course, that was at a time where the market was unique. But right now, the market is unique, and maybe people don't value the first-round picks. And so you get... just trying to think off the top of my head, like, you go get Evan Mobley, for example, for a Derek White. And obviously the Celtics would probably need to give up a little more, but it's not too far off. So next team after Boston, let's talk about the Cavs, because of course we're talking Evan Mobley for Derek White. I think the Cavs got to make a huge decision. I think at least Jared Allen is out the door. I personally have been on board with the idea that maybe Donovan Mitchell is not a number one. So maybe they go make a play for Giannis. And that's where a deal would be centered around Evan Mobley. Because if you're the Bucks, like, what else do you want there? So you have a roster. Your top two is Donovan Mitchell and Giannis. And I don't mind that two together. Because Donovan Mitchell could think he's the number one all he wants. He probably takes majority of the buzzer beaters because outside shooting, that whole 9 yards. So cool. But Giannis is probably going to be dominating the games majority of the time. Now, like I said before, I think if the Bucks trade Giannis, he's going out west. But the Cavs have an option here where, yeah, you have this young, enticing piece in Evan Mobley, who's a building block, who could potentially be a solid option on a deep playoff run team. He didn't really have a great playoff run, is what I'll say, but there's still value in him. We all know he's a solid player. So, Cleveland, could they potentially be moving off of Donovan Mitchell? I doubt it. Could they move off of James Harden? You just made a move for him, so I don't think so, at least at the moment. I think you would wait until at least the deadline. Another guy that I think could be up for grabs and potential for Cleveland could be like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant could be a guy that comes on over, and of course we're not sure if he's being traded, but most likely he's of course one of those guys that kind of bounces around the league at this point in time, searching for a chip, searching to be the number one option on a chip. So those teams that are close to the wire, close to getting over the hump and getting to the chip, would be like Cleveland. Denver would be another option for Kevin Durant, right? I would have said New York, but they just did it. And of course San Antonio, but I don't think him going and joining San Antonio helps his legacy, but I guess San Antonio. So yeah, overall, I think that Cleveland could be making a lot of moves this offseason. They got to make a move about, one of the two bigs, Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. Next up, plus I think Cleveland does have a lot of pieces that could help out a contending team, right? A Max Strus, a Max Strus or a Dean Wade or somebody of that caliber that could help a potential add some depth to one of these solid rosters, like the Lakers, like the Spurs, like the Pistons, for example, could use, a Dean Wade, a 3-and-D kind of guy. The Orlando Magic, the Minnesota Timberwolves could use some depth. Like, there's a lot of teams that if Cleveland decides, hey, like let's kind of blow it up a little bit, that they'll be getting a lot of calls for a lot of their roster. Keon Ellis, I think, has value in the league as well. Next up here, let's talk about the Denver Nuggets, because of course, like I said before, I think the Denver Nuggets could be a team that goes out and kind of explores some options. Whether they trade Jamal Murray, now the Houston Rockets are a team that needs a guard. Fred VanVleet, who knows what a 35-year-old, 36-year-old, however old he is, over 33-year-old with coming off of a torn ACL, how he's going to look. So you solve that issue by going and getting a guy like Jamal Murray. In exchange, Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant and Jokic make a great pairing. Of course, point guard issue there, but maybe Christian Braun is ready to take the next step and be that starting point guard for you. I think another player that if they move off Jamal Murray could be like Tyler Hero. I think Tyler Hero, I don't love the fit there in Denver necessarily, but I definitely think they're going to be making a move somehow. Whether it's around Jamal Murray or not, there is going to be a decent move made for either a wing or a guard. And if it's for a guard, watch out, Jamal Murray, you're probably out the door, right? So if they get in a trade that involves De'Aaron Fox, Jamal Murray's probably a part of that. But yeah, Kevin Durant, I think, is a solid option that they could go after. And honestly, I don't think he has crazy value. I mean, I don't think any of these superstars right now have crazy value. I don't think Giannis has insane value. I don't think, I mean, even in the last video that I posted, I had debated on whether giving up Scoot, Shaedon Sharpe, and somebody else, and I think 3 or 4 first-round picks was worth Giannis, right? But I definitely think that Denver is going to make some sort of big move because, of course, they have to re-sign Peyton Watson. They might have to move on from Cam Johnson, who they just traded for. And I think that's where guys like KD come into play. I think that's where guys like one of these teams that's going to be making moves or maybe has a lot of wings, who is kind of ready to give it up, like Sacramento. Sacramento has some players there that I think you can buy on bottom dollar. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and of course, Keegan Murray. I think Keegan Murray would be a great fit with Denver. I think Keegan Murray he got paid so much money and it's just not showing, but I realistically think he just needs to be playing winning basketball for him to be an impactful player. His play style does fit with a lot of championship contention teams, right? He does fit Denver, San Antonio. He does fit the Rockets, for example. They need three-point shooting. Detroit, somebody like that. But I don't think a lot of people are talking about Keegan Murray. I know that Sacramento fans are so tied to Keegan because the whole Keegan Murray, sure. But at the same time, it's just like the Marcus Smart thing I was just talking about. Sometimes you gotta trade that piece because it provides you more value for your future. So if I'm Denver, I'm calling all those teams and I'm saying, look, this is what we got. What will you give us in return? I'm calling everybody. I'm calling the Pelicans about Herb Jones. I'm calling the Kings about Keegan Murray. Everybody is getting a call. So I had just said that Keegan Murray would be a solid fit over in Detroit. Let's talk about Detroit. Detroit is a team that I think just needs a playmaker. And I think the prime target for them is CJ McCollum. I don't know why, like, CJ just, in my head, just everything clicks. Because, look, CJ was the best player for the Atlanta Hawks, and they took 2 games on New York. New York didn't lose 2 games in a series the rest of the playoffs. And let's be honest, their toughest series was San Antonio, and they gentlemen swept them. Right? I mean, that's just the realistic position. Was Atlanta won the most games for against the Knicks in the entire playoffs between anybody, which is crazy to think, but I know that they were still kind of getting healthy and everything, getting that rolling. But anyways, Detroit should go after CJ McCollum because I think that's a swing where it's a big enough swing where you don't have to give up everything, because that's where I think a lot of teams fail when you're in a Detroit Pistons situation where you're a young team, you didn't get over the hump, so you come back, and then I think they make too big of a splash. And we felt like that with Mikal Bridges, for example. 5 first-round picks. We felt like that with Rudy Gobert when he got traded to the Timberwolves. 5 first-round picks. Now, of course, Mikal Bridges just put all that to bed because they won. But like Rudy Gobert, for example, too expensive. Just not worth it, clearly. So that's what I'm worried about with Detroit is right now they give up a Ron Holland beef stew, multiple picks, and not realizing how valuable beef stew was to this roster. But at the same time, you have to take a big enough swing to where it actually matters, because you don't want to keep wasting Cade Cunningham's youth, right? Cade is only getting older. You're going to have to pay Jalen Duren this offseason. And I know that they're going to pay him. Whatever offer he gets offered, no matter who offers it, he's going to be a Piston next year. I'm sure of it. So you might need to savor a little bit of money. CJ McCollum is used to playing to a second option, playing in that role. But of course, when Cade goes on the bench, you don't have to be sweating bullets of, oh, shoot, Jenkins is running our role right now. Tobias Harris is our number 1 option. No, it'll be CJ McCollum. Or I do like the idea of Detroit taking the swing for Trey Murphy. I know he doesn't necessarily fit the go get a bucket kind of guy, but I do love him in Cade. And I think I just love him in Detroit. So realistically, I think that Detroit could be making a move for somebody kind of big this offseason, hopefully. And then, of course, if it's not one of those guys, sneaky like Lauri Markkanen. And then Jaren Jackson just rocks out with Walker Kessler in Utah. Or maybe even like Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey wouldn't be ready per se, but could you say no to an Ace Bailey offer if it's low enough? I mean, what's the value of Ace Bailey at the moment? It's probably not a first. Maybe it's worth a first. I mean, he's a young talent, has a lot of potential, of course, still, but I like the idea of Detroit making a big swing. I don't like the Tyler Hero ideology. Him in Detroit, I don't like that because it's just Tyler Hero's kind of negative defense. But I do want them to take kind of a big swing. I mean, they're not getting Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen Brown would be another option. If they could get like Kyrie, I think Kyrie would be a solid option there. I think Kyrie's learned to play with a secondary star, right? He's learned to play with Luka. He's learned to play with LeBron, of course. He's been there, done that, play with stars. So he knows how to balance that 1A, 1B kind of thing with Cade, especially ball-dominant players like Luka. He's learned how to play with them. So if Kyrie does become available, I know there's rumors that he's not, but I think at the same time, that could be a smokescreen just to inflate the value of Kyrie Irving. I think that I'll get to the Mavericks here in a second, but so I do want to talk about the Clippers. The Clippers are a team that they're in this weird position because they don't necessarily scream deep playoff run team, but they don't scream rebuild. They're just one of those teams that right now, if they kept running it back, they would just continually be like the 8th seed, 9th seed, where they'd be good enough to make the playoffs probably, but bad enough to not actually do anything in the playoffs. So what do you do? And I think personally, I think you go after trading Kawhi Leonard for anything. You just go get as much value as you can. And that's where I think you can take advantage of one of these young teams like Detroit. You go get Ron Holland, see what he's all about. You go get Isaiah Stewart. You probably flip Isaiah Stewart closer to the deadline. And then you go get picks. And then, of course, at the same time, you just kind of get rid of all your veterans and you rebuild. Because I think Darius Garland is a young enough player to rebuild around. I know that they've got that new stadium and they're going to want to win now. But I don't think you're close to having the pieces to winning. So I would rather, if I was a Clippers fan, I would rather have a couple more years of pain to get better, right? Because like San Antonio, for example, could probably use Kawhi Leonard. I mean, so could 90% of the NBA. Let's say Kawhi goes to San Antonio and you get back Fox in return. You later flip him at the deadline. You just have him rock out that weird 2-guard lineup, and then you flip him at the deadline. And you give him even more. But on return of not only De'Aaron Fox, you also got De'Aaron Fox and a pick and, I don't know, Julian Champagnie, for example. Just throw him in there. So then you flip De'Aaron Fox for Franz Wagner. And then you have this Darius Garland, Franz Wagner, Julian Champagnie roster with picks. That's the big thing. So then you use the draft capital, draft your young guys, develop, blah, blah, blah. You know how this works. So, but the Clippers could be making a lot of moves because their depth chart shows a lot of potential. Just how I was saying that the Sacramento Kings have a lot of players that a lot of teams would enjoy having on their roster for deep playoff runs. I think that the Clippers are similar. Chris Dunn could be on a deep playoff run team as a backup point guard or even third option. Kawhi Leonard, like I said, Derek Jones Jr., Brook Lopez. 4 guys right there that I think can provide value, and you can go maximize the value of this roster by going and getting rid of your veterans. Same thing, John Collins. Nicholas Batum is still on this roster. There's a lot of... Bogdan Bogdanovic is still on this roster. Like, there's teams that could utilize those players because their names have value. Yes, Bogdanovic didn't really have a great season last year. Nicholas Batum is super old. Brook Lopez is super old. But, of course, you go youth, so then you let Kobe Sanders and Benedict Mathurin and Darius Garland and Niedenhauser play, and you see what you have out of your young guys, and you just kind of do the flip, the rebuild, full-on rebuild. That's what I would do. I think that a lot of teams would make calls about Brook Lopez being a second option center, a backup center, right? Him and what he could do to help mentor Wemby, for example, right? I mean, that's... At least Brook Lopez can kind of stretch the floor. But the Lakers are another team, of course, moving from LA to LA. The biggest question mark, of course, is LeBron. What is LeBron doing? Is he going to go to Cleveland, finish his career in Cleveland? Is he going to stay in LA? Is he going to go to Golden State? I think he ends up staying in LA. I think that if I'm the Lakers, I sign and trade Austin Reeves to see what package is available from Brooklyn. Michael Porter Jr., Nicholas Claxton, whatever you can get going there, you bring over. Then, right, you have Luka, let's say Luka, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron, Michael Porter Jr., and DeAndre Ayton. That's a solid starting 5. Yes, there's some holes, but at the same time, maybe you can get Nicholas Claxton as well in that deal. And you give up a little more. You give up Rui, Austin Reeves, and something for Michael Porter Jr. and Nicholas Claxton. The value, I think this roster, again, has a lot of value on it with just Austin Reeves himself. I think Austin can go get you a 2-for-1. And I think that's what the Lakers kind of need right now. You don't necessarily need another star because you have Luka and LeBron, both proving that they can still rock out. Then, so you just look at what else do you need on this roster? What other rosters has LeBron had in his career where he's had dominance, where he's had championship runs? So we look at the Cleveland years when he won the finals with Cleveland. He had Kyrie, so a dominant guard, Luka Doncic. And then he had a great rebounding big. So that's where the Lakers might Jalen Duren. You might look at Miles Turner. You might look at even like Nicholas Claxton, right? Players like that. Good rebounding bigs. Same if we go look at Miami. His time in Miami with D Wade and Bosh. Great rebounder in Chris Bosh. And then a great dominant guard. That's been the recipe for LeBron's career. Has been when he wins championships. It has been dominant guard, great rebounder, and LeBron. And whatever around him. It's 3-point snipers around him pretty much. Because like the Mike Millers, Kyle Korvers, Ray Allens, J.R. Smith, etc., etc., etc. So sure, you can fill in the Duncan Robinson here and the Luke Kennard there and the Zach LaVine here maybe or something like that. So the Lakers, yeah, big question marks, big holes. Walker Kessler, another possible option. I think that would be fantastic for them. Is Walker Kessler might be an even cheaper option than Jalen Duren, which could provide them to fill those other holes. So that's the big thing with the Lakers is, one, I don't think that they even come close to competing with like OKC. I don't think they come competing close to San Antonio. Even Denver, I don't think they're close to. Minnesota, I don't even think they're close to, just depending on what Minnesota does this offseason. But again, you're trying to maximize LeBron's last year and then go figure out the year after. That's what I would do. If I was the Lakers, I'm figuring out, hey, how can we get LeBron that last chip? And I think that's the best possible way, is like if you run it back and you bring in Austin Reeves again, Luka, Austin Reeves, and LeBron as your three-headed monster is not winning you playoff games. It's not winning you a championship. I don't think so. Of course, Luka's injury history is quite concerning to me as well. To a point where I think, now this is a hot take, I think it's smart to listen to calls for Luka. Now, I wouldn't be as dumb as the former GM of the Dallas Mavericks and only listen to the Lakers and take AD, Max Christie, and a first. No. If I'm listening for a deal for Luka, I am telling the entire world I'm listening for a deal for Luka. And that rumor can spread. And in the media, I would deny it. I would be like, no, we're not going to trade Luka. But I would get people throwing that rumor out there to, hey, Jaylen Brown. Hey, like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a pick or something like that. You know, like, hey, Giannis, you know, something like that. Like, I am doing everything I can to listen to offers for Luka. Now, I don't think that the Lakers do that. Like I said, I think the Lakers just end up, they should sign and trade Austin Reeves over to Brooklyn for whatever you can get back in return. And I think that there's some decent value, and I think you can take advantage of Brooklyn because they've been taken advantage of in the past, right? You look at the Boston deal that led to them, you know, getting guys like Tatum and Brown. They, of course, did the whole big three over to Brooklyn and all that whole 9 yards. They got rid of KG when he was 47 years old and Paul Pierce when he was 48 years old, that whole 9 yards. So the Lakers have moves. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. So a team that's been talked about a lot with ties to trading a big star is the Miami Heat. Whether it's trading for a big star like Giannis or it's trading away somebody like Tyler Hero, we know Tyler Hero's probably on the move. Whether it's to Milwaukee, whether it's over to Detroit, something like that, I think that Tyler Hero's probably on the move. Now, I think they're going to be keen on the Giannis deal. So that's a package of like Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware, multiple draft picks. I mean, they have the 13th pick in this year's draft. I think that the more and more I'm doing research on this specific draft, the more and more I think that this draft is becoming underrated outside the top 5. Right? We all know that the top 5, and most people are even just saying the top 4, that they're elite. Whatever way you draft them, no matter what, those guys are probably going to be elite ball players. So then you look outside of that, and the Acuffs of the world, and the Keaton Wagglers of the world, and the Laxenbergs, the Michigan Star over there that just won a championship, how they're going to do in the league. So that's when, if you're the Bucks, I mean, if I can get multiple picks in this year's draft specifically, I'm doing it. I'm trying to do it at least. So yes, I think that Miami probably goes after Giannis. If not, they go get, just what value they can for Tyler Hero and just kind of hit the reset button a little bit. The biggest question I have as well is, does this mean that Bam could be a package that just gets listened to at least? Like, they at least listen to offers for Bam. He screams Miami, of course. He really feels like a Miami guy through and through, might finish his career as a Miami Heat, but I don't know. Does Bam want to finish his career in a rebuild and maybe not having a chance at winning a chip? Because I think he's one of those players, like I had talked about Keegan Murray earlier, that would be way better and played way better on a deep playoff run, right? When he was on that championship contention team or teams with Miami, with Jimmy Butler, he played phenomenal ball. Now, of course, that it's not meaningless basketball, but it's less meaningful than a championship contention. He's not as good. And also, I think that that's a prime opportunity for another NBA team to call and be like, look, Bam isn't Bam anymore. You know, like, let's get him for pennies on the dollar. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here for Miami. I also still think that they're youthful players. They're not as youthful as they once were, but Nikola Jovic and Jaime Jaquez just intrigue me. Nikola Jovic is one of those guys that I really think that he's just not in the right system. Is he an NBA guy? I don't really know, because of just, he's had a lot of games with DNPs and all that, but Miami just has those two players that intrigue me, because I'm like, I mean, there was a lot of hype around Jovic. There was not a lot of hype around Jaime Jaquez, and then he came in and kind of blew up at the beginning, possible rookie of the year at the beginning too. So, and then of course he's calmed down quite a bit. So it's intriguing to see, what are those two guys, what are their values like? What could they get you in return as well? Next up, of course, Milwaukee. Milwaukee, I don't like talking about the whole Giannis thing until the Giannis thing happens, but of course it's here. We assume Milwaukee will trade Giannis. Of course, we've said this the last 4 off seasons, but this year I think it does happen. I think that he ends up going and playing. If I were to make one final prediction of where he's going to go and play, I would say probably Cleveland, because I think Cleveland could just offer the most. I don't think anyone's actually, I'm going to change my answer. It's not Cleveland, because I've been saying this in a couple other videos, and I don't think enough people are talking about them as a threat to get Giannis, and it's Portland. Portland has Milwaukee's picks. Milwaukee can't be bad when they don't have their picks. So, go get your picks back. And you might be able to even squeeze a Scoot, a Shaedon Sharpe out of Portland for picks for Giannis. So you get back your picks, so you can finally rebuild. So you could finally say, we don't need to go make the scrap move of going and getting Kyle Kuzma, because it's just a deal to be done to hopefully make Giannis happy. We don't need to get the deal done to go get Miles Turner, because we can just rebuild. We can trade Miles Turner. We can trade Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, you're probably going to get pennies on the dollar, but pennies on the dollar is better than nothing at this point. And Kyle Kuzma, at one point in time, bubble championship, could provide value for an NBA team. So that's where I think that the Bucks could capitalize is, of course, they don't have a lot of young talent. They don't have a lot of draft capital. So you take your one valuable piece and you maximize profit. And you say, look, Giannis is out the door. We're trading him. I don't care if we trade him to the Thunder, to the Spurs, to the Rockets, to the Trailblazers, to the Timberwolves. Throw us anything and everything. And honestly, I am making every offer heard by the world. And it got leaked that Giannis would be going to Portland for 3 first-round picks, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, and Jeremy Grant, right, to make the money match. And so then you call up Oklahoma City and you're like, look, you got to beat that offer if you don't want it. If you don't want Giannis, cool, that offer's on the table. You call up Houston, who's getting a little desperate, and you say, we don't want Kevin Durant, we're in a rebuild. We want Amen Thompson. You're going to have to beat our offer that we already have on the table. I love that for them. I think I would do that. If I'm them, I'm making it known Giannis's packages so that you can go and talk to those other teams and maximize that profit. All right, Minnesota's another team that, of course, is probably going to make a splash, whether it's Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle. But they're probably going to move one, if not both of them. And I would like to see that. I would like to see an opportunity where Anthony Edwards has a lot more room on the floor to rock out. And so you go get either a stretch big or, Naz Reid can play the starting center role. So if you believe Naz Reid is ready to take that step, you go fill Naz Reid in the starting center, and Rudy Gobert gets you a point guard and a wing, right? And then you look at what's available. Of course, De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving, Jalen Suggs they were tied to. That's a potential. I don't love Jalen Suggs' fit in Minnesota because I think it gets really clunky there really quickly. Because Anthony Edwards, although he's a good three-point shooter, we want him to attack the basket. So if you have Jalen Suggs, Rudy Gobert around him, or Jalen Suggs and Julius Randle around him, I don't love that. If I'm a coach and I'm like, oh shoot. I mean, if I'm another coach, if I'm from the opposing team, that's cookies. I'll take that all day. We'll just stack the paint. Shoot threes on us. Force Anthony Edwards to beat us by the three-point line. Force Jalen Suggs to hit 6 threes in a consistent 7-game series. Not going to happen. Probably not. So I would like them to definitely go and take a swing, move off of Rudy Gobert. I think they could save a lot of money if they do that as well. So unfortunately, I think they were just missing Nickeil Alexander-Walker a lot as well. And that's unfortunate because they let him go. So I also think they could use somebody like a CJ McCollum, a Norman Powell on this roster would be pretty nice, where you don't necessarily run the whole true point guard thing. You just kind of run a couple guards and Anthony Edwards and Norman Powell that can run the offense. Of course, Ayo Dosunmu is still there. Whether he'll come back in free agency or not, that's a high priority of theirs, is to bring him back. And then, of course, Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a team that they're going to need to make a move because it seems as if Lou Dort is already out the door. He's probably going to be that piece that goes. And then, all right, what's next? I don't think they trade Chet. I think you need to have Chet put on some muscle. You are paying him quite a lot of money for only 8 points in a conference finals game. So I would at least hear the offers. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong ever about hearing an offer, about somebody else calling me and saying, look, I'll offer you this. Because the worst I can say is, look, we're not trading him. You can call all you want, but we ain't trading him. Because I also think that makes it more intriguing for a team because they're like, yes, Chet is the exact piece we need, but we're going to stop at nothing to go get him. So that's when the overpay happens. That's when 5 first-round picks get traded for Rudy Gobert, right? That's when Kevin Durant he's traded for a ransom, and then, of course, he then leaves. Something like that. That's when Cam Johnson gets traded for, and the Nets are looking at winning that trade. Oklahoma City, though, has so much talent. This year, it felt like there was too much talent. It felt like there were too many mouths to feed. Where Chet Holmgren is making so much money, you have to get him the ball, right? Lou Dort, you want him to shoot threes, but he's throwing up bricks. Jared McCain, you traded a first-round pick for him, so you have to get him minutes. And Jared McCain, I think, also has proven that they can move off Lou Dort just fine and be fine. Yes, the heavy defense, of course, that Lou Dort has, but I think it's balanced with the heavy offense that Jared McCain provides. And I also think Jared McCain just fits the culture of Oklahoma City better. Lou Dort, I think, can have decent value for a Lakers. Now, they'll probably trade him out east because, again, I am huge on the idea if I'm trading one of my guys that was a huge rotational piece for me when we had success, I'm trading him over to the opposite conference. Now, do I think Lou Dort is he's not like a Giannis, of course, where it would really matter. It wouldn't be like, oh no, we're not going to trade him to a Western team. Like if the Lakers call, maybe that's the one team maybe the Lakers, the Nuggets, maybe there's a couple teams you just don't, but like you would still trade him I would trade him to Golden State. I would trade him to the Clippers. I would trade him to anyone on the bottom of the West. I would trade him to Phoenix. Shoot, I would trade him to Minnesota. But I wouldn't trade him to LA. Probably not Denver, but I don't think Denver even calls. Not trading him to San Antonio. So that's where you probably get more value if you trade him over to the East. So you look at like Indiana. Indiana could use some defense over there. You look at teams I mean, if you're just looking at absorbing a bad contract, Chicago is open and willing. They've literally come out and said, give us your bad contracts, just attach picks to that. And Oklahoma City, honestly, that's kind of perfect. Like, you just attach a pick or two and ship Lou Dort on over, but I think you can get a little more value than that. So overall, these teams, I think the teams that are going to make the biggest moves in the offseason, and I'll make a prediction for the top 3. I think the Spurs, of course, because I think they'll trade De'Aaron Fox, right? I think that's one team that'll make a big move. I think the Lakers, because I do think they move off Austin Reeves. So there's another star that's getting moved. And then number 3, let's see, where do I want to go? I think it eventually, I'm not going to say the Bucks, because I think we've been saying the Bucks too much and giving them too much attention, and I don't think, although they've come out and said they're trading Giannis, they've come out and said that before. So I'm going to go with like Brooklyn, because I think Brooklyn can be an interesting team that facilitates a lot of trades because they're in a rebuild, but at the same time gets involved and gets guys like Austin Reeves, like I said, and they've got those intriguing pieces in the Nicholas Claxton and all that. So those 3 teams I think could be big movers. Teams that are disappointing, that will disappoint in the offseason, I think Boston's not going to make, like, they're not going to trade Jaylen Brown. I don't think so. I just don't really think that will happen. So I think that's going to get a lot of fans, like, obviously Celtics fans are going to be happy with it, but as far as like basketball and wanting those free agent moves and trades and all that, as that kind of fan, that's just not going to happen. So, and then another team going to be probably a little disappointing is going to be Miami. Miami probably just going to like run it back or something like that, have a terrible roster again, just be mediocre again. So, all right, guys, without further ado, it's been another Beyond the Arc episode. If you did enjoy this content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on what you think of this entire video. I would love to know. I'm always responding to your guys' comments and everything. It's been a pleasure. So without further ado, it's been another Beyond the Arc episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.